Okay, guys, I want to share with you something called the Daily Force. This is something that has been incredibly effective in my business. I didn't start utilizing it until I've been a coach for about a year, maybe even longer than that, maybe like 16 months. And, we all kind of have to work through different systems to figure out what works best for us. You just saw a document called The Power of Threes. So you may come across that, that system, that phrasing frequently. It's a pretty commonly used way to stay on top of your activities and give yourself some sort of tracking method is by using the Power of Three system. But for whatever reason, I was introduced to the Daily Fours while I was pushing for 2-star before Summit qualification, and it just aligned with my thinking. It was easier for me to organize my thoughts around it, and I was able to get through actions quicker. And that's really what it comes down to with time management. You might try several different systems that, before you figure out what works best for you. So with the Daily Fours, and I should probably have a notebook here to show you, but I basically separate my paper. I have a notebook that I keep all of this in. And I'm showing you several different tracking options and several different systems, so to speak. But for me, I'm kind of a pen and paper person that's really, really trying to get to an electronic record keeping person, but it's not happening as quickly as I would like it to be. So I have a notebook that I use for my Daily Fours, and I basically transfer what I have on my notebook paper every day to my Excel sheet. But in these notebook papers, I split my paper into 4 quadrants, and they are add, connect, invite, follow up, and pick a number and commit to it for the month. So your goal might be that you have 2 names in each of these 4 squares every single day for the whole month. And it's pretty simple, but to me it's a simple system because you always want to be adding to your network. You've heard us talk about that. We'll talk about that more, but you always want to be growing your network so that you are essentially talking to more people and getting in front of more people. And ideally over time, you are strategic with who you're adding. So you're adding people that are likely going to connect with you and want to follow you and have similar interests with you. And what you're talking about is going to have value to them because they're also a busy mom of a lot of kids that don't know how to make time for themselves, So you always want to add to your network. So you just add 2 names right there as you add friends. That can be somebody that you met in preschool drop-off. It can be somebody that you met at a meeting a week or so ago and say, hey, I stumbled across your page on Facebook, or I enjoyed talking to you. I really wanted to send you a note and say, hey, and add them. So you add those people there. Super simple. The next day, whoever I added the day before, those names go on my connect list. So I can message them and introduce myself and not just add them in ghost and never appear again. I'm going to do what I just said and say, hey, thanks for accepting my friend request. It was so nice to meet you a week or so ago. I love connecting with other positive moms on here. There's so much negativity on Facebook, And then I typically ask a question so that there can be some dialogue starting. I don't bring up anything Beachbody oriented. I'm just connecting with people like I talked about in my other video. And then invite and follow up. So follow up is typically also a category that you can fill out the night before. Like who you need to follow up with the next day. I list mine based on the priority. If there's somebody out there that's waiting on a link for a challenge pack or has asked about a particular program or Shakeology, I'm following up with that person first versus the person that was like, hey, how was your ski trip? So I'm going to put my follow-ups in that box, and then I'm going to invite. And I'm going to invite the same number. That's the key with the Daily Force. It's so easy to tell when I have people that are struggling with their business and they say, yeah, I just, I'm at SC0. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, let me look at your Daily Force for the last week or so. We might get on a Zoom and I see all of these connections and I see all of these follow-ups. I see a couple ads. I see day after day of no inviting. And that's a place we've got to put fear aside and get out of our heads and ask people to join us. And like we've said, think about it as connecting and not inviting. It's not this hard sell. Like there's nothing about me that's a salesperson, but I can be perceptive and pay attention to what people are talking about and what I'm seeing in their newsfeed and saying, hey, I'm about to start a new program. I saw you mention that it's really hard for you to get to the gym right now. Like, have you ever thought about learning more about what I do, working out at home? But you can't leave this square empty. So pick that number so that you don't have 10, 5, 1, 0. Like pick a number, commit to it for the month, and it will give you such a good indication of what's easy for you, where your frog might be, what you might not want to do. We call that your frog. And to me, like I said, it's a very clear process that I can knock out really quickly. I try to fill my quadrants out the night before so that when I have my power, I have pockets of power hour time, that I can just bam, knock it out. Okay?